Satan. A drunkard doesn't want pure wine. A drunkard wants what satisfies him, what satiates him. This is what influences him or her. Okay? But note what has occurred considering new wine, because people have become drunk from the fermented wine. The verse says, it is cut off from your mouth. And the word for cut off is nichrat, that aside from cut off also means to destroy. And worse than this, it means to permit to perish. It is the drunkards that are allowing the new wine, the fresh, untainted word of Yahuwah, his Torah, to perish from mikichem, meaning from the mouth, but it also means from their presence. As the truth of Elohim's word begins to fade, so does the ability to build a true relationship with Yahuwah Elohim begin to fade. At this point, one can either realize that it is slipping away and take action to make teshuvah, or one can remain in a drunken stupor while sleeping it off, allowing the relationship to fade away, and then be subject to judgment. Now this word finds its root in pa'ah, that means to be shattered. Considering those who have allowed themselves to be influenced by the lie and are satisfied by it, will have purity of the word literally removed from their presence and will find themselves shattered in the end, like pottery is shattered with a rod of iron. Iron represents judgment, and those that are unclean vessels are smashed. What happens in the Torah when we read about a clean vessel that was to be used for the service and it touches something unclean? What is to be done with that vessel? It's to be smashed. You can't use it. You can't rub the unclean off. You know, we talk about the Maccabees coming in and restoring the temple. They didn't restore the temple. They didn't come in with the Ajax and the scrubbers and the mop and the broom. They tore the entire temple down, tossed those rocks, and rebuilt it. So an unclean vessel is smashed. This is what we read in the Torah. Iron represents judgment, okay, and those that are unclean vessels are smashed. It will be done both by the word, and listen, those holding on to the word of Yahuwah. We're going to talk about the watchmen in just a minute. But listen, in Psalms 2, 7 through 11, Elohim is giving the word a certain amount of authority. I will declare and decree, Yahuwah has said unto me, you are my son, this day I have begotten you. Ask of me, and I shall give you the heathen for your inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for your possession. You shall break them with a rod of iron. You shall dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Be wise now, therefore, O you kings. Be instructed, you judges of the earth. Serve Yahuwah with reverence and rejoicing with trembling. Okay? That's Elohim giving the word the authority. But now in Revelation 2:27, we have the word, we have Yahshua giving the believer the same authority, that the true and unwavering believer will receive the same thing given to the Son by the Father. He says, and he that overcomes and keeps my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, as vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my Father. And then he goes on to say, and I will give them the morning star, and I will give them all this stuff, but I'm going to give you the authority to go and not necessarily judge the nations, but I'm going to give you the authority to go and shatter the broken pots, so that those that make teshuvah can take their broken pottery shards to the potter's house and be restored. This is why we have the story of he formed the Adam from the root Edom, that means red clay. to be a vessel, and he blew into that vessel the Spirit. We read in Jeremiah about the house of the potter. When the vessel is marred in the hands of a potter, he reforms it and makes the right thing out of it. Matthew 26:6, if we toss King Jimmy's interpretation and put the Aramaic back to where it should be, it says that Yahshua was in the house of Simon the potter. And that there we see that in the potter's house is the restoration that takes place. And then we move on to this thing in Revelation where he says, you will go out and break the unclean pieces. Not just to judge them, but to help them to make teshuvah so that they can come to the potter's house. Because that becomes our responsibility, that if we love our neighbor as ourselves, then we have a responsibility to go to our neighbor and try to help our neighbor. And when we talk about Yahshua was in the house of Simon the potter, in the Greek versions, and a lot of the Bibles, most of the Bibles are taken out of Greek, they translated an Aramaic word, garaba, which means potter, as garba, that means leper. And so in most of our English-based Bibles, it's going to say at Matthew 26:6, it's going to say, in the house of Simon the leper, which is impossible because a leper can't own a home. He's outside the camp. Leper can't have a servant girl. And even if he was one of the lepers that Yahshua healed, then he would no longer be called Simon the leper, because Leviticus tells us that once a leper is healed, he will no longer be called a leper. So, something to keep in mind. So the main thrust of this verse is that an awakening must take place. People have become lax in their desire to know the Father, and have become satisfied with whatever their particular denomination tells them to believe. Yahweh has been replaced with Jesus in Christianity, and Hashem or Adonai in Judaism. As a result, the new wine, the word of truth and its blessing, has been removed from their presence. It is so very important, and once again I'll state that we must understand why we believe what we believe, and not simply be satisfied in believing whatever we're taught, unless teshuvah takes place and the world has to wake up. Now, there are three types of watchmen in the Torah. The first one is at Isaiah 52 verse 8, that says, yes, the voice of your watchmen, they shall lift up their voices together, they shout for joy, because eye to eye they see the return of Yahuwah to Zion. The word for watchman here is zafah, that means to watch, to observe closely. And we see this again in Jeremiah 6:17, where it says, and I raised up watchmen over you and said, listen to the sound of the shofar. But they said, we do not listen. He raised up watchmen. He raised up people to watch and observe closely, but they did not pay any attention. So what is the deal with this particular type of watchman? The first one in Isaiah says that they see eye to eye with Yahweh, but this one says that they did not pay any attention. So again, it goes back to, why do you believe what you believe as opposed to what do you believe? Then we have the second type of watchman that is, we find him in Isaiah 62:6. This particular type is shamar. This is to keep. And when we read in the Torah that those who keep my commandments, those who keep my covenant, we usually find that it's those who shamar my Torah, shamar my covenant. This is those who guard, who observe, who protect, who treasure the Torah. And this is this type of watchman. Isaiah 62:6 says, I have set watchmen on your walls, O Jerusalem, all the day and all the night continually. who are not silent, who remember Yahuwah, give yourselves no rest. It says these type of people remember who Yahuwah is, and they guard the Torah, they observe the Torah, they protect the Torah, they treasure the Torah. And the last type of watchman that we read about is in Jeremiah 31:6. And this type of watchman is called Natzarim. This word Natzarim also means the branches, but we read about this person or these types of persons in 31 or Jeremiah 31 verse 6. For they shall be a day when the watchmen cry on Mount Ephraim, arise and let us go up to Zion, to Yahuwah our Elohim. Again, Natzarim, aside from meaning the branches, also means to guard with fidelity. That means to not allow any adultery into their relationship with Yahuwah Elohim. They watch over, they preserve the Torah. To watch over and preserve the Torah. Yahshua said, I am the vine, I am the true vine. You are the Natzarim. You are the branches. You are the watchmen. You are the ones that I am entrusting to guard, to watch over, and to preserve my word. And this is what he told to the shlachim, to the apostles, to the emissaries that were to go out to the world, to the Jew first and then to the Gentile. The Jew rejected it. The Gentile grabbed a hold of it. When the Gentile grabbed a hold of it, the Greco-Roman mentality grabbed a hold of it as well. And it went in a direction that went totally and completely away from what the Torah says. So here we are talking about Joel and talking about what type of wine are you drinking. So, but anyway, we have to be able to wake up and be level-headed. The next several verses are things that we really, really want to avoid. The verse that comes after this verse is one that we can avoid because it's already happening. But we can make teshuvah and help people's eyes to open. But anyway, with that, we can say that grooviness is achieved, and Chester will come blink the button thingy, because if I say, is there any questions, nobody will answer.